spill in the Gulf of Mexico could be much worse than we knew, much worse than either the government or the oil executives have admitted. Independent experts now estimate the oil gushing from the leaking well could be more than 10 times higher than previous estimates, perhaps up to 70,000 barrels each day. That number from a Purdue University engineering professor who calculated it using video of the leak. And if he's right, it's roughly equivalent to an Exxon Valdez happening every 4 days. We will speak with that very professor live inside Fox Report. But first, officials do admit some uncertainty about the size of the leak, but argue that doesn't affect how they'll handle it.
Whether the flow is 1, 5, 10, or 15,000 barrels per day, the mobilization of resources has been since day one to prepare for a worst-case scenario.
And as some teams work to contain the spill and keep it away from the Gulf Coast, others are trying to cut it off at the source. The newest plan underway right now. We have Team Fox coverage. Major Garrett at the White House. First, David Lee Miller live on the coast in Venice, Louisiana. David Lee, they're trying to install a giant siphon tube, they say.
That's exactly right, Shepard. The oil experts would say that what they're trying to do now is take a 6-inch tube and insert it into this 21-inch pipe that is losing thousands and thousands of oil every day. This is a difficult process. It has to be done 5,000 feet under the sea. BP experts are optimistic it is going to work, but they also said today this is the first time that such a practice has ever been attempted.
Everyone is not optimistic. What if it doesn't work?
Well, BP says they have a contingency in place. They say they have what they call the top hat on the ocean floor. Now, that's a very clever name for what really amounts to a 4 by 5 foot box. It's a containment dome, and what they would then do is place this dome over the actual leak itself, and then the oil would be somehow funneled to a tanker on the surface. The two approaches are very similar in many respects, and the important thing to keep in mind here is that they will contain the oil leak. They will not stop it. That, they say, would be far more complicated. Shepard?
David Lee, even if crews try various strategies, one industry consultant warns today, quite literally, that we are in unprecedented waters. He is Matthew Simmons, and he tells National Geographic, we don't have any idea how to stop this. This video shows a recent attempt to lower a giant dome over the leak, a mile beneath the surface. That effort failed. And Simmons contends if officials can't figure out how to stop the oil, it could keep bleeding until the underground reservoir is dry, a process that could conceivably take years. In other news tonight, President Obama says he shares the anger and the frustration of people along the Gulf Coast, those most affected by this spill.
I have to say, though, I did not appreciate what I considered to be a ridiculous spectacle during the congressional hearings into this matter. You had executives of BP and Transocean and Halliburton falling over each other to point the finger of blame at somebody else. We will hold them to
the president was referring to this dog and pony show earlier in the week on Capitol Hill.
BP, as a leaseholder and the operator of the well, hired Transocean to drill that well. Transocean, as owner and operator of the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig, had responsibility for the safety of drilling operations.
The most significant clue is that the events occurred after the well construction process was essentially finished. Drilling had been completed on April 17th, and the well had been sealed with casing and cement.
Halliburton performed the cement job according to the well owner's direction. We understand that neither the drilling contractor nor the well owner performed integrity testing on that cement job, and a subsequent event caused that incident.
It was quite a show to hear it from the president and others. The president himself also said the American people could not have been impressed by that display, and that neither was he. Team Fox coverage continues now. Major Garrett at the White House. Major, the president says there's plenty of responsibility to go around, including some for the government.
That's right, Shepard. Not just anyone in the government. His own Interior Secretary, Ken Salazar. Of course, the president did not name him as someone to blame, but environmental critics are. They're saying that Ken Salazar in the Interior Department basically allowed underlying regulators at the Mineral Management Service, which organizes, supervises, and deals with permitting of offshore oil drilling, to remain cozy with the very oil industry it's supposed to regulate and let them do things like this particular Deepwater Horizon oil exploration rig without the necessary environmental scrutiny or public comment. And because of that, they say this is now an environmental catastrophe spreading all across the Gulf Coast. The president said those days are now over.
Seems as if permits were too often issued based on little more than assurances of safety from the oil companies. That cannot and will not happen anymore. To borrow an old phrase, we will trust, but we will verify.
Shepard, Minerals Management Service used to have a very aggressive inspector general to sort of police these things. President Obama took that inspector general, put him in charge of what? The stimulus law. There isn't one there now, just enacting one. Environmentalists say that's another problem.
Major, there's also some controversy about missing information from a safety test.
A safety test, Shepard, conducted in about the 6 or 7 hours before the explosion on that fateful day, April 20th. We are told, and there's data to back this up, that previous to that there were tests to see if there was an explosive or potentially explosive gas leak accompanying this underwater exploration rig. That sometimes happens. Well, all the data on paper was, of course, lost in the fire after the rig exploded, and the electronic transmission of that data has been discovered to have been missing. So we don't know what kind of decisions were made or not made in the hours before the explosion about how to deal with that possible leak, and that is going to remain a mystery, and investigators say they would sure like to know what happened just before that rig exploded.
There's word of more arrests in connection with the botched Times Square bombing. A senior U.S. official tells Fox News Pakistan now has multiple suspects in custody. Just yesterday, federal agents arrested 3 men in this country. Investigators say the suspects may have helped finance the attempted attack, possibly without even realizing it. Catherine Herridge is live in D.C. tonight. Catherine, what do we know about these new arrests in Pakistan?
Well, thanks, Jeb. A senior U.S. official tells Fox that there have been multiple arrests, and it was characterized to me as a handful of arrests in Pakistan. I was also told all of the men are believed to have ties to the Pakistani Taliban. 2 are connected specifically to the money investigation, and among this group, we're told a friend of Faisal Shahzad, who was picked up May 5th in Karachi, Pakistan. Pakistani intelligence sources tell Fox the man, quote, confessed to having ties to the Pakistani Taliban, and he may, in fact, be the link between Shahzad and the training camp he says he attended in Waziristan, Shep.
You know, there are a couple of new web postings tonight. The first is apparently encouraging Muslims here in the United States to attack in the United States.
Well, this is one of the more interesting developments in the last 24 hours. Analysts tell me that the chatter on the websites is up, and it specifically talks about Times Square and the other 2 attempted attacks Christmas Day, and then also Fort Hood as well. Now, one website reads in part, quote, the average Muslim does not need to go to Afghanistan or Pakistan in order to attend training camps and learn how to fight the American enemy. Likewise, he does not need to be an expert or professional in making bombs and explosives to attack the U.S. So you see a clear encouragement in this particular case on a website, I'm told, that has thousands of followers.
Catherine, thank you. Investigators say Shahzad has confessed to getting explosives training in one of Pakistan's lawless tribal areas. The experts say it's a region so remote and so dangerous that Pakistani forces have pretty much left it alone. Coming up inside Fox Report, a look at the threat from North Waziristan and what the United States is doing about it. He has served 5 terms in the United States Senate, most of them as a Republican, but now Arlen Specter is running his first race as a Democrat, and he's finding himself in the fight of his political career.
Hello, how are you?
Senator Specter's primary race with Congressman Joe Spacek just too close to call. Tonight, a new show of support from the Obama administration, but will it be enough to save another incumbent from an early exit? We'll have a live report from Pennsylvania coming up. And a teacher on the attack.
She just started kicking me and punching me and banging my head. I want to see her go to jail for assaulting my child.
Now the teacher accused gives her side.
I know this has been a painful situation.
And we'll tell you what we've learned about the teacher's history. Plus,
3, 2, 1.
the Shuttle Atlantis takes off for its final scheduled flight.
Shuttle Atlantis, reaching the crest of